morning, everyone. YouTubers, true northers, people interested in mental wellness. I am so excited about today's session. I don't want to give too much away, but we're still talking about wellness and healing and how to adapt mental wellness as a lifestyle, how that is able to best serve you in your everyday life personally, but just for everybody around you. I have somebody with us this morning, and he will be talking about an approach that I found to be so culturally adept to us as Africans, as Kenyans, to be able to take us through that journey of healing, that journey of being in touch with our feelings, our emotions, that feeling of inviting other people to stand with us and be in that space where we can actually get the support that we need in the way that we require it. So I will let him introduce himself, and yeah, we'll take it from there.
Okay, I'm Oliver Mbai and consider myself a storyteller and a healer.
A storyteller and a healer. I like that. Just before we started this conversation, we were talking about what is national dialogue, how does it look like, and you mentioned something very important, that people think national dialogue is about politics and la 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 la, and so we were talking about the idea of involvement at a grassroots level. People in Nairobi may not think of themselves as grassroots people, but for me, I think grassroots is not Gishagi, it's not
Right,
provincial.
right.
Grassroots is right there where you are. Can you be able to make? Can you be able to access that opportunity where you can make that contribution, where you can be heard, where you feel listened to? That's my idea of what grassroots
It's
is.
the heartbeat of just the people.
The people.
The people,
Yeah.
at the end of the day. And we draw the line the people and the leaders.
Yeah.
And you find that the way we are purged, we've been told, people beget what they deserve. And a leader basically is a creation or generated by the leader, the people.
I agree.
But then
We
when people,
deserve
yes,
we deserve the leaders that we have.
at the end of it,
Yes,
at the end
because
of it,
we voted for them. And I think that
the
is
end of it.
something people don't seem to understand. And so when people are complaining, I'm like, well, how did you vote?
The heartbeat of the why and the how, and basically the choices, we make as a people actually sends us back to our thinking. And ideally, our thinking may be sometimes skewed because you have different worldviews. But then how do you reconcile these particular worldviews into, let's say, a one system? And to me, one system is the heartbeat of nationhood. And we like it or not, we have to actually create this particular geographical park into a nation, into a system that is basically of a people with same vision. But then when you are divided in the whole patches, we are almost becoming targets.
I hear you and I agree with you. Let me tell you my theory. My theory as to why we will not make any progress, no matter how many committees are there, how many commissions are there. I was telling you earlier that I want to find out who Ambassador Masharia is so that I
Right,
can knock on his
right,
door and
right,
say,
right.
I have a contribution to
Right,
make.
right.
Why I think we are actually not going to go anywhere with these reforms, that reforms, is because
Mhm.
I think Kenyans are hurt. Kenyans are traumatized. Kenyans need healing.
The word is trauma, actually. We
Yes.
need healing. And where does trauma begin? Literally, the Mzungu comes here and colonizes. And the best way for him to perpetuate all this particular bit is to actually cancel us into thinking in a very skewed way. And we start actually criminalizing other communities, start treating other communities as pariahs. One thing people forget is that before the Mzungu came, the communities that live in this particular region interacted. The Kikuyu took care of the Kamba children and women when the Kambas were having issues. The Maasai did the same, and so forth. They were interacting, they were trading together, all right? And at the end of the day, they respected each other's worldview. But then somehow we are meant to believe that, okay, we are primitive people, can't actually put up together. We've been cancelled with the negative stereotypes. So the Kikuyu has the negative stereotype and will be planted in the Kikuyu. Kikuyu is a thief, Kamba is probably chawi, and all that. So if you are relating to Kamba, you have to be very careful. Maybe a Costarian is a lazy patch, and all that. And the stereotypes goes on. And we've really implanted these particular stereotypes, and they actually inform our divisions long after the Muzungu was gone. And of course, we have the selfish politicians who keep on actually triggering that particular sick mentality in us. And unless you actually change your viewpoints and start redressing our very powerful stereotypes, we have so many powerful, positive stereotypes that actually, when you put them online, they are more than what we have in the name of negative stereotypes. But we tend to concentrate on the bad. The weaknesses are there. The good thing is that we are all good people and loving people.
I believe
But
it.
once you are sick and traumatized, that particular patch is taken away. We want to talk about probably the 5 patches of a traumatized person or society, basically, when the element of safety is actually questioned, when element of trust is questioned, when elements of intimacy is questioned, when the whole bit of esteem, even have societies that just generally esteem is patched down, is questioned, you are a traumatized lot. We don't want people behaving in a reactive way
Yeah.
to these particular patches of trauma
Yeah.
for us to start saying that now we are traumatized.
Yeah.
These are stories we really need to have ourselves engaging on a continuous patch.
Yeah.
Continuous patch, and then reassuring us, rebuilding our resources from that particular point so that
Yeah.
we are a healthy people. Events that are actually traumatizing events will never stop. Will always happen.
They will never stop. And even as we talk about that, I feel like people don't quite conceptualize what trauma is and why it should matter to all of us. Because what they don't understand is that it happens to us as children, it happens to us while we're growing up,
Right,
it happens to us as we are adults,
right,
it happens to us where we work, it happens to us where we go to school, it happens to us in our homes, it happens on the road, it happens to people after they retire, it happens to people,
right.
when they are old.
It is everywhere,
It is everywhere. And as much as it cannot be avoided or helped, my concern is we are reactive without the information that it is because of a trauma. Like we are constantly reacting to a single event
Right,
that
right, right.
happened to us that was negative, that made us feel helpless. And as we continue living our lives, we are constantly behaving in a way to protect ourselves.
Exactly, exactly.
We are constantly behaving in a way to be able to shield ourselves
And
from
sometimes
more
from very
harm.
imagined harm,
Exactly.
literally, that's not related.
Exactly. It's not real, but I think that's the mystery of the brain that people don't understand. That that connection between emotion and memory is so strong that it also gets distorted. And there is no way of unpacking that. When I think about like the work that I do with the soldiers, with the veterans, and I think about all they have been through and the trauma that they carry, and the fact that that is not the first trauma that they are carrying, that they come from our larger society. So it means they have already have suffered some form of trauma even before
Right,
they
exactly,
were adapted,
exactly.
in that
For that
system.
particular system.
And then within the system itself, in the course of their work, they suffered trauma. But then there's a way it also now passes on to the family, because again, if you are not aware of your own trauma and at working on it, you project it.
Of course,
You
yeah, you're
project
the
it,
nearest object, all that.
to family members, to your children. And I think that's the thing that someone is not saying. And in the course of engaging and bringing this treatment to to the highlight of them being able to engage with it, I found out several things.
Right.
Number one, trauma care in this country is scarce. Where it is found, it's very expensive.
Right.
So most people can't afford it. Those who can afford it don't even know they need it or they want it, or reject it altogether. Those who know they need it cannot afford it, cannot access it. Even those who can afford it and think they need it probably can't as well access it.
And the trauma itself, the traumatized word.
Exactly.
So how can you be traumatized?
And I was like, so what do you do when you have a situation where it's too expensive, it's not accessible, the people giving it are very far and in between? Because I think instead of dealing with the deep issues that cause that lack of safety, that lack of esteem, we are busy investing in things to, like makeup. We are busy applying makeup to those issues.
And to cover it up, and we have the ostrich, so that we imagine the storm will pass.
Yeah, so we end up, making beer that is more appealing. We end up making medicine that is cute and sweet. We end up, having these superficial interventions that deal with the exterior, but the interior remains cold, neglected, and alone.
Literally, we don't confront it.
That's what I'm saying.
We don't confront it, actually.
Yeah. And confronting it is an act of courage. Most people don't want to do it because the moment you start talking about what hurts you, the moment you start getting people to talk about what hurts them,
it calls for, again, another defense mechanism, because again we want to run away from that particular core. A week ago I had a session with some individuals, and we ran through my favorite way of actually raising trauma awareness, and of course managing it and engaging to the healing process. And I encountered this individual who has a story. And now when I listen to it, this story was not being told to me for the first time. This story has been told to a number of other healers.
Yeah.
My question was, if this is the story I've been telling for the last 1 year, where am I? We have many other issues that actually really more or less traumatize us, if I may say. But this individual is stuck to one story and has told a number of healers for a period of 1 year. That means you've not gone to the point where you have to confront the core of the trauma.
Yeah.
See, so we are actually getting a little bit defensive.
Yes.
Or for those of us who really need to be actually healing and helping others heal, or journeying together to heal, create an environment that is not actually free.
Right.
That's not actually
it's not enabling.
Enabling, actually. Basically, we see the judgmental nature of those particular facts, and the individuals or the community after retract back.
Yeah.
And then we leave them more traumatized. Because the minute you tell me your trauma story, then we have to go to the journey. We have to establish this particular journey. And the thing is, how do you go about that? And it comes in the whole case of expertise. All right. The expertise we're talking about, because the journey of healing is actually a long journey.
Right. Thank you for saying that, because I think that is another thing that is short-circuiting the healing process when it comes to emotional pain.
Right.
People want a quick fix.
People want a quick fix.
People want a quick fix. But I keep saying, if you commit to the journey, you'll be better off for it.
You have to commit.